Hello, my name is David Day, and I'm the author of a new book entitled Alice's Adventures in Wonderland Decoded. It's a project that I began literally in the last century, in 1996, and it's taken me nearly 2 decades to complete. I'd now like to take 10 minutes of your time to take you on a journey through that book. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a book of secrets. Everything is disguised. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland Decoded is about those secrets. The first secret is about the life of the author, and the book reveals how the real-life Alice changed his life. The second secret is about the real-life Alice, Alice Little, and how the fairy tale Alice changed her life. The third secret is that Wonderland is a memory palace. It's a time capsule of the Victorian age encrypted with what was once called the wisdom of the ages. This was only possible because Wonderland is a multidisciplined, multi-layered construct that is both deeply puzzling and endlessly fascinating. It has been published in 176 languages, and after Shakespeare, Lewis Carroll is the most quoted author in the world. Although Alice's Adventures of Wonderland have been with us for 150 years, it actually feels like they have been with us forever. Why is this? Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is actually the oldest story in the world. The tale of a maiden's descent to an underground world was first recorded over 5,000 years ago. The goddess's descent in the underworld, her trials, and her return is the frame story and plot of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The myth of the goddess of spring was one of the most popular motifs in art and literature during the Victorian age. And Carroll was not the only one who cast Alice Little in the role of this maiden goddess. Wonderland Decoded also reveals how the creative imagination works. So let us take one famous example, the White Rabbit. Where does he come from? Carroll was an amateur magician, but he didn't just pull this rabbit out of a hat. The rabbit has always been linked to spring and the goddess. In Britain, she is called Estra, and her emblematic animal is our Easter rabbit. In many ancient cultures, there are animal guides for souls to the underworld. In Ireland, the guide was a rabbit called the puka. To the Welsh, he was called Puck, and to the English, Puck. In Edward Landseer's Midsummer Night's Dream, we have both the sprite Puck and the white rabbit together. Carroll's diaries tell us he was enchanted by this painting, particularly the white rabbit. Of course, there were many other sources of inspiration. Exactly 250 years before Alice ducked down her rabbit hole, initiates into the Rosicrucianist secret society were following the mercurial rabbit into a similar mysterious underground world. However, we must never forget that Carroll was a mathematician. So beyond goddesses and secret societies, the rabbit has a mathematical source of inspiration. Fibonacci numbers were famously generated by calculating the offspring of a pair of imaginary rabbits. In Wonderland, Carroll constructed an infinite Fibonacci rabbit hole. What is it like to fall down this kind of rabbit hole? Let's see. Alice reaches Wonderland at what mathematicians call an ideal point in infinity. Once in Wonderland, Alice discovers every creature has a real-life counterpart in Victorian society. Even the author, the stuttering Mr. Dodson, is the dodo. And her family doctor, who is the white rabbit, and many others are revealed, her drawing teacher, and even her parents, along with many other prominent Victorians. Wonderland also has many secret social and political agendas. For example, in the Duchess kitchen, the target is Darwinian evolution. But Carroll turns biological evolution into verbal evolution in a word game. Curiously enough, in genetics, DNA molecules also follow the same rules as Carroll's word chain game. The same game can also explain the Cheshire Cat's appearance and disappearance from head to tail, and tail to grin. But what about the ancient mystery of the Cheshire Cat's grin? There is always a mathematical dimension to anything in Wonderland. What would a mathematician call a grin without a cat? In geometry, a catenary is a curve made by a suspended chain, such as one finds in a suspension bridge, also known as a catenary bridge. So, we see how Carroll's mind leaps from Darwinian evolution to missing links in a word chain game to a hanging chain of a catenary, which provides the answer to the riddle of the Cheshire Cat's grin. But then, what of the Cheshire Cat itself? In fact, the identity of the Cheshire Cat, like all the inhabitants of Wonderland, depends on the level or discipline one chooses to view it from. In his Sylvie and Bruno novels, Carroll explains that his characters have multiple identities and exist in multiple dimensions. This was based on Carroll's own mystical belief that there really are multiple levels of existence. Perhaps the best way of viewing Wonderland is to compare it to Murder on the Orient Express. On that famous train ride, it seemed impossible that any one of the suspects committed the murder, because in fact, they all did it. In Wonderland, a similar conspiracy is afoot. They all did it. All of Wonderland's multi-leveled inhabitants are participating in a conspiracy in league with the author, Lewis Carroll. For Wonderland's ultimate secret is that it was constructed deliberately and subliminally as the gift of a classical education to his dream child, Alice Little. And with a curious twist of fate, because of Wonderland, on the centenary of Carroll's birth, an 80-year-old Alice Little was actually granted an honorary doctorate of letters. One last word about Alice's adventures in Wonderland Decoded. It's a book about a book of secrets. It approaches reading as a creative act, and it's a work of art in itself. It's so much more than just information. Open it anywhere, and you will find 6 impossible and beautiful things on each page. It's a Victorian cabinet of curiosities, full of treasures. Pick it up and hold it, and you will feel why actual physical books should exist in the 21st century.